After 10 amazing years of wedded bliss, I never imagined Camille, my Camille, would ever ask for an open marriage. We had such a great life together. Sure, we were busy. Camille was killing herself at her marketing firm, putting in 60-hour weeks, always juggling clients and campaigns, and I was working day and night trying to make a name for myself as a comic book artist. But through all the madness, I always thought our love was strong, fiery, fervent. We were the couple people envied. But one night, everything changed. Camille came home from work looking off. I can't quite explain it. Her makeup was flawless, her blazer sharp, her hair perfectly pinned like always, but the light in her eyes was dimmer. There was a strange heaviness to the way she dropped her bag by the door, a quietness. She barely said anything as she helped herself to the pasta I'd made. I poured her a glass of wine, and we sat across from each other at the table, chewing in silence. The clinking of cutlery and the occasional sigh, the only soundtrack to our dinner. Then she sat down her fork gently, took a deep breath, and looked straight at me. "Ronan," she said, voice calm and deliberate. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I want an open marriage." I blinked. My fork slipped from my fingers and clinked against the plate, the sound sharp and final like a gavel falling in a courtroom. "What?" I asked, trying to mask my confusion with a laugh that didn't quite come out. "Why?" She didn't flinch. "I missed the thrill of being pursued by men," she said bluntly, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I felt my heart skip a beat. "The thrill," I repeated, voice rising before I caught myself. "You want to risk our marriage for thrills?" "You're being dramatic," she said, waving her hand like I was some old man shaking his fist at clouds. "Don't be so traditional, Ronan. I'm not risking anything. I'm just asking you to let me explore, to let me be with other men." She said it so casually, as if we were discussing vacation plans. "You can have others too if you want," she added like she was, offering me a coupon. I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Are you really asking that for pleasure?" Camille leaned back in her chair, arms folded. "It's not just about sex. I miss feeling wanted, Ronan. I miss the chase, the energy of dating. I feel like I'm living someone else's life, like I'm trapped in this routine that doesn't make sense for who I am anymore." "So what am I then?" I asked quietly. "Just the guy who cooks your dinner while you plan your thrills?" Her face softened, but it felt patronizing. "Don't make this into a betrayal. It's not. It's freedom. Being strong, leading a freer life. I'm not cheating, I'm being honest. Isn't that what you always valued most between us?" I shook my head slowly, trying to understand the woman in front of me. "If you loved me, truly loved me, you wouldn't need this. You wouldn't want this. If you loved me," she countered, "you wouldn't feel threatened or insecure. You'd trust me enough to let me do this." I sat there stunned, silent, my eyes locked on hers, but my mind was spiraling. Who was this person saying these things? Was this really Camille? The woman who once cried watching Disney movies with me, who used to leave sticky notes on my desk, with little hearts drawn on them? I leaned forward, clasping my hands together to stop them from shaking. My voice was calm, measured, though inside me a maelstrom of emotions was raging. I've seen a lot of those videos on YouTube. Wives sitting their husbands down, calm voices, pleading eyes, asking for freedom, for more, for a so-called open marriage. Always with the same script, the same excuses, the same fragile smile as they casually ask to invite other people into what used to be sacred. And Camille, my Camille, was now one of them. Her eyes flashed briefly across the table like she was waiting for something, a reaction, a confession, something she could hold on to. I didn't give it to her. I just stared, letting the silence stretch tight as wire, until it threatened to snap. "So," I said, voice low. "Who is he, Camille?" Her expression turned rigid, her mouth pulling tight. "No one, Ronan," she said quickly. "Why on earth would you even think such a thing?" I didn't move. I just kept looking at her. How could you even suggest something like that? She pressed, eyes widening now, taking on that tone of indignation that made my skin crawl. You really think I'd cheat on you? You're asking me to let you sleep with other men, Camille. I snapped. How is that not cheating? She opened her mouth, shut it, then tried again. It's not about that. I haven't done anything. I swear to you, I want to talk about it. I want to explore it together. We spiraled for what felt like hours. Her voice stayed sharp, mine sharper. We circled the same points. She hadn't done anything yet. It didn't mean she didn't love me. Open marriage doesn't mean failure. It's just a new chapter, a new way of loving. She used words like freedom and modern and connection like they were lifelines. But all I heard was the wrecking ball crashing into our 10 years. Finally, I'd had enough. Look, I said, standing up. My answer is no. And honestly, you've just given me a damn good reason to divorce you. Her eyes snapped to mine. She looked stunned, like she hadn't expected me to say the word out loud. Divorce. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch scrolling through videos and forums, desperate for clarity. But the verdict was always the same. As soon as your wife brings up open marriage, divorce her. That's it. That's the warning bell. The line. I looked at Camille, curled up in bed with her back to me, and I felt something ugly twist in my gut. Disgust, horror, sadness. If that's what we'd come to, maybe we were already done. The next few days she was different. Quiet, almost sheepish. Gone was the bold, confident woman who had blindsided me with her truth at dinner. She didn't mention it again. Not directly, not at first. She just kept her head down like she was waiting for the dust to settle. A part of me, naive, hopeful, wondered if she'd realized how far she'd gone. Maybe the threat of divorce, of losing everything, had made her see clearly, but that illusion shattered fast. One evening, I was sketching in the living room when I heard her footsteps. She walked in slowly, hands fidgeting at her sides, then stood in front of the coffee table with a look I couldn't place, determination mixed with fear. "Ronan," she said softly. "I've been thinking about this a lot." I didn't answer. I just set my pencil down and looked at her. She glanced at the floor, then back at me, her voice hesitant but holding some kind of strange resolve. "I've been reading research on polyamory and free relationships." She nodded to herself like she needed her own reassurance, like she was trying to believe the words even as they left her lips, as if convincing herself that this was the right way to go. Then, without saying another word, Camille laid it all out. "We have a man in our office." She began, her voice low. "His name is Coulson." Something in me froze. I already knew. Maybe not his name, but I knew the way she said it. It wasn't just information. It was confession. It sounded like a death sentence. "We've met," I said, my voice flat cold. I looked her dead in the eye. "You mean you slept with him?" She didn't answer right away. Just nodded once, gaze dropping to the floor like a coward, like a child caught in a lie. "It's not a physical connection, Ronan," she said, and her voice cracked. "It's not just that. He makes me feel alive again. Desirable, young, free. I stared at her, the woman I had loved for over a decade, and for the first time I didn't recognize her at all. It was like she was wearing Camille's face, using Camille's voice. But she wasn't my Camille anymore. "And you claim to have feelings for him," I said. Not a question, a statement, a final nail in the coffin. A bitter, humorless laugh burst out of me. I couldn't help it. "So that's why you want an open marriage?" I spat, venom dripping off every syllable. "To cover up your affair number what? 1, 2. "It's not like that," she protested quickly, her eyes wide with panic. "I'm telling you the truth. I'm in love with you, Ronan. I thought maybe we could make it work." She gasped like she couldn't believe her own breath. Her face looked desperate now, hopeless. "An open marriage is freedom, Ronan. It's about being free thinking, about embracing change. It's not betrayal. It's progressive. I finished for her, letting the word fall from my lips like acid. You call sleeping with another man progressive. You call it some kind of free-thinking lifestyle. Are you serious, Camille? Do you hear yourself? Her jaw clenched. There it was again. Lightning in her eyes. Fury, not shame. Rebellion, not remorse. And you refuse to even look at it, she shot back. You're so inflexible, so conventional, so turned inward. It's depressing, Ronan. Depressing. And yes, I hate it. I stood up too fast. My chair scraped across the floor. My legs barely obeyed me, shaking with the weight of everything crashing down around me. You hate it, I repeated, stunned. You don't like that I loved our marriage, that I honored the vows we made, that I trusted you. She stared at me, her mouth twitching with the fury she hadn't let out until now. I despise you, she hissed for not wanting to grow up. She took a step forward. I want more out of life, Ronan. I want to be alive, and Coulson makes me feel that way. There was something about the way she said his name, like it belonged to her now, like he did. And I felt something in me break, but not the way I expected. Not just pain, not just anger, relief. It swept over me like a strange dark tide, a kind of freedom. I looked at her, the impostor, who had worn my wife's face, and all the rage and grief surged to the surface. I didn't try to hold them back. I let them pour out. You're right, I said quietly. This isn't working. She blinked. Her lips parted like she was about to say something, but I didn't give her time. I'll talk to a lawyer tomorrow, I continued, keeping my voice even. We'll negotiate the divorce. I turned to walk away, but I should have known. It wasn't going to be that simple. Camille wasn't going to leave me alone. For weeks I could feel it building. Camille didn't just keep talking about freedom and being alive. She rallied a damn army. Her mom Juliet, her sister Eliana, and two of her loudest, most opinionated friends, Aubrey and Brooke. They became a little coalition, a council of moral relativists, each one ready to tell me why betrayal was actually bravery and how love could stretch its boundaries like a yoga mat in hell. They came over one night pretending it was casual. We were eating takeout, burgers, fries, some overly cheerful YouTube video playing in the background. Then, like they'd rehearsed it, they turned the whole evening into an ambush. Juliet put down her drink and cleared her throat. Ronan, honey, she said with a practiced gentleness, we need to talk. I set my burger aside and leaned back in my chair, hands folded. I already knew what was coming. Camille slid next to her mother, her eyes trained on me like I was a threat they were trying to pacify. Alina followed, sitting stiffly while Aubrey and Brooke stood behind them like some courtroom, gallery, jury, judge, executioner. Juliet took the lead. Ronan, things don't have to be black and white, she said. Ethical non-monogamy can be liberating. Liberating, I echoed, eyebrows raised. Liberating from what exactly? Honesty? Loyalty? Basic human decency? Eliana rolled her eyes and leaned forward. Come on, Ronan! Camille had the courage to speak up, to be heard, to say what she wants. I looked at her square in the face, my voice calm, cold. You mean she cheated, Alana? She betrayed me, and now she's wrapping it in a TED Talk and hoping I'll thank her for the experience. I stood up. The air in the room shifted. I wasn't shouting, but I didn't need to. My disgust was a solid presence. Unlike the rest of you, I said, scanning their faces, I don't need to rewrite the rules of commitment just because they got uncomfortable, just because they got hard. Brooke chuckled, that smug, sharp little grin she always wore when she was about to say something cruel and pretend it was insightful. You use your beliefs as a defense, she said, because deep down you know Camille found a man who's more in tune with what she needs more than you ever were. Camille whipped her head toward her, panic flickering across her face. Stop it, she whispered. To Brooke, That's not, but it was too late. The words had landed. The damage was done. Something inside me snapped. I laughed. A hard, bitter sound that felt like it came from my stomach. "You realize what?" I said, pointing to the table like it was holding all their ridiculous arguments. "I don't care anymore. Not about her, not about him, and I sure as hell don't care about you." Silence. I shoved the chair back with my leg and took a step forward, facing all of them. "That was it," I said. "That was the last thread holding this together. This marriage, it's dead. It's a joke." I looked at Camille, and she flinched. Good. I threw up my hands in despair. And you know what? This was never about some philosophical exploration of love. This was about ego, about Camille wanting to be desired, wanted, chosen, even if it meant breaking what we had. I turned toward Juliet. You take a wife and you have no idea what she really thinks about something as simple, as sacred, as monogamy. And then when it blows up in your face, you're told to evolve, to accept some so-called alternative. That's the solution. My voice was low, steady. Call it whatever you want. Polyamory, progressivism, free love. But here's what it really is: betrayal. I turned to Camille and she destroyed that faith the moment she decided to sleep with another man behind my back. Camille, who had been sitting silently through the whole tirade, face pale, hands clenched in her lap, finally broke the silence. "I screwed up, Ronan," Camille said, her voice trembling just enough to seem sincere. "But I'm making it up to you. I want to evolve with you. It might make us stronger as long as you don't feed your insecure ego and become a swearing son of a like this." I snorted, half in disbelief, half in disgust. "Stronger?" I repeated, eyes narrowing. "You really believe dragging other people into our marriage will make us stronger? That's not healing, Camille. That's nonsense." Juliet stayed quiet. Watching us like this was some family therapy session. And then, of course, Elena jumped in, snapping like she'd been waiting for the cue. "It's not delusional," she said sharply. "Polyver is a legitimate form of courtship. It creates a community of affection and help while maintaining romantic and sexual ties within agreed-upon barriers." She sounded like she was reading straight from a pamphlet. I looked at her, eyebrows raised, unimpressed. "If you'd let your fragile ego get in over your head," she went on like Camille said, "you'd actually understand what it's all about. It's not just about sex anymore." I scoffed, shaking my head. "Let's call it what it is. A clever way to get laid, without facing the consequences." Aubrey raised her head, her stare sharp enough to slice skin. "You're so shallow," she said, voice thick with scorn. "If you just dropped the poison of jealousy, you'd realize how liberating this could be. Camille's being honest with you. She's working on building something sparkling." "Sparkling?" I cut in, eyes wide. "You make it sound like a Pinterest board, not a damn marriage." But she didn't stop. "And you're too scared to step out of your little comfort block. You can't even try to be a real man, a man who cares about the future." I stood then, slowly, firmly let the legs of the chair scrape back across the floor so they could feel the weight of every inch I rose. "I'm not afraid," I said, voice like steel. "I just have standards, loyalty, constancy, honoring the vows we made." I looked right at Camille when I said it. Her eyes were red, but not from tears, just from exposure, like someone unaccustomed to the light. "If believing in monogamy makes me conservative," I went on, "then fine. Call me that. Tattoo it on my damn forehead. But don't stand there and tell me I'm wrong for wanting a real marriage, for dreaming of something sacred." Brooke crossed her arms, her contempt so thick I could taste it in the air. "You care so much about your fragile male ego," she said slowly, like I was too dumb to keep up. "You can't even see it for what it is. This could be the chance to grow to boom. And you're ruining Camille's happiness because you're too insecure to accept that she might be happy with someone else." I narrowed my eyes and turned my gaze to her, calm and cold. "You think I care about that?" I laughed, cold, bitter. "If she wants to run out the door and spread her legs for Coulson or whatever his name is, That's her business." Camille flinched. At that? Good. She cheated. She broke her vows. She lied to my face. That's not love. That's trash behavior from the avenue. And now she's trying to intimidate me into thinking I'm the one who's wrong. I swept my eyes across the room, each of them standing around her like some cult of support with zero accountability. "You're all standing there," I said, "telling me I'm the problem, that I need to change, that I need to swallow this poison and pretend it's growth." I pointed to the door. "Take your nonsense," I said, voice low but shaking with rage, "and leave. I've put up with this long enough. Get out, and I'm bringing out the consequences for you now." I echoed, eyes locked on Camille. Her face flushed crimson, and I watched as she crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair like she was trying to physically distance herself from what I just said. Her eyes were pure fire. "Ronan, don't be rude just because you're angry," she snapped. "I am your spouse." I cut her off with a sour snort. "Not anymore," I muttered. The look she gave me, it was like I'd slapped her across the face. Her mouth parted slightly, shocked. "I haven't gotten the divorce papers yet." "Oh, you will," I said, turning toward the coat rack. Her expression twisted like someone being unmasked. "You're impossible, Ronan. You're so stubborn. You can't even try to look at this differently. You'd rather risk losing everything we've built than try to make it something triumphant." The silence that followed her little monologue was almost theatrical. One by one, the other women in the room turned their eyes to me. Not a single one spoke. They had come expecting a show, expecting me to bend, to buckle, to beg. Instead, they were realizing that their little intervention had failed. I walked over to the coat stand, slipped my arms into the sleeves slowly, deliberately. "I'll let my lawyer handle the rest," I said, glancing once. Only once, back at Camille. "Good luck with your so-called empowerment," I added. "You're going to need it." And with that, I left them in stunned silence. They looked at each other like someone had just turned out the lights in the middle of a sermon. But I was done preaching, done listening. Even after that final war of words, I didn't come crawling back. I didn't second-guess it myself. I filed for divorce. That shook Camille just enough to spark some false hope. She started acting like maybe I was bluffing. Her friends and her family, those cheerleaders of hers, kept pestering me. "Think it through, Ronan. You're just in a second mind. Don't throw away a marriage over a misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. They had no idea I had become a willing player behind her back. I hired a private investigator. I needed proof, hard evidence, just in case she decided to twist the narrative, say she hadn't actually cheated, that it was all theoretical, all emotional openness. Just in case she started painting herself as some enlightened victim. It took a few weeks. She got careless. When she did, she really stopped caring. The evidence was crystal clear. Camille and Coulson, multiple encounters. Hotels, one of them, a little boutique place she once said was too impersonal for romance. Guess she changed her mind. Rage bubbled up again when I looked at the files. Surveillance photos, room key, timestamps, audio. But I didn't lash out. I didn't scream. I didn't even confront her with the pictures because by that point, the woman I loved, the one I knew, she was already gone. I filed for divorce the next day. The only regret I had, not mailing those files anonymously to her organization. Not to shame her, but to remind her actions have consequences. And maybe, just maybe, it would have made her think twice before gaslighting someone else in the name of progress. Let this be a warning to anyone who listen. Don't let others, no matter how many they gather around them, bully you into trading your soul for their ideology. Don't mistake noise for truth. If you have your own values, your own compass, hold it tight. If those values are worth dying for, then die for them. But in any other case, you will lose yourself. Now for the second story, you ever watch those lottery winner documentaries? The ones where some guy goes from winning millions to living in a rusted-out van behind a gas station 2 years later? Yeah, this is almost one of those stories. but with a twist. Let me rewind a bit. My name's Damon. I'm 41 now, I live in Ohio and work in logistics. Nothing glamorous. I get up, make coffee, check emails, move freight from point A to point B. Regular guy with a regular life? Well, was regular until everything slid off the rails 7 years ago. That's when I married Melanie. On paper, we looked like something out of a toothpaste commercial. She was beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads at the grocery store, funny too, and God, could she talk. She had this natural charisma, the sort that made strangers open up like old friends. She could sell ice to an Eskimo and probably convince him to thank her for it. Me, I was the opposite. Quiet, a homebody. I liked grilling on Sundays, watching football, and keeping my head down. Drama was something I avoided like raw chicken on a cutting board. But Melanie, she thrived in chaos. Fed off it. Even I didn't see it at first. Love's like that, blinds you in the beginning. You overlook things because your heart's louder than your gut. It started small, subtle. "Hey, babe," she said one afternoon, twirling her car keys. "I think it makes sense to put the house in my name just for convenience, in case something happens." I raised an eyebrow. "Like what? Like anything. You get hit by a bus or we get audited or something. It's just easier this way." I didn't argue. That became a habit, not arguing. Next thing I know, the car is in her name. Then the utilities, even the Costco membership, which I joked about. "You want the gas points in your name too?" I teased one day. She smirked. "Don't be dramatic. It's all paperwork, Damon." Fast forward 5 years. I'm sleeping in the guest room because, as she put it, she needs space to think. "Think about what?" I asked, standing in the doorway with a blanket folded in my arms. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Just everything, us, life." "I don't know, Damon. You're always just there like a house plant, and not even a pretty one." That one stung. I tried to brush it off, told myself all couples hit rough patches. Maybe we'd reconnect. Maybe she'd miss me. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Then came the phone call. "Mr. Smith, this is Season Bank Collections. We're calling in reference to a series of missed payments totaling $24,397.81. I nearly dropped the phone. "What payments?" "I don't have any cards with Season Bank." The woman on the other end hesitated. "You're listed as a co-signer on an account belonging to a Melanie Smith. Does that sound familiar?" "Familiar? Yeah, like a sucker punch is familiar to a boxer." That night I sat her down, or tried to. She was already halfway through a glass of rose-scrolling Instagram. "We need to talk," I said. "Is this about the dishes?" she muttered without looking up. "Because I told you I'll get to them." "No, it's about the $24,000 in credit card debt." Her thumb froze mid-scroll. Then she laughed like I just told her a bad joke. "Oh, that." "Relax, Damon. It's not even that much. I mean, you'd spend that on a boat or something stupid if I let you. Spa days, handbags." "Cabo," I held up the printout. "You told me you were at your sister's that weekend?" She stood up, her face hardening. "You're acting like this is some big betrayal." "It is," I said quietly. She scoffed. "You know what your problem is? You're boring, predictable. You think love means sitting on the couch watching reruns of Frasier and grilling burgers like we're retired? I did you a favor being with you." I just stared at her. Then 2 weeks later, I got served. In her divorce petition, Melanie claimed emotional neglect. And then she wrote financial instability. You ever feel like you're working 60-hour weeks just to keep someone else comfortable? That was me. For years I worked hard. Never questioned it. Just thought it was what you did when you were in a relationship. I had my own idea of responsibility. Turns out all that effort was for nothing. She walked away with everything. The house that I paid the down payment on, the SUV that I bought her for our anniversary, half of my retirement fund, and what did I get? My clothes, a PS5, and a barbecue grill. That's it. And yes, I had a certificate that said, "This man isn't simp and a loser." The divorce was final in February. By June, I was living in a tiny 2-bedroom rental above a dry cleaner, eating microwaved ramen and frozen burritos. Every day felt like I was moving through mud, just wondering if it could possibly get worse. Spoiler, it did not. In fact, it got wildly better. July 3rd, I'll never forget it. I stopped at a gas station after work to grab some Gatorade. And, on a whim, I bought 2 scratch-offs. One was a dud. The other, well, that one changed everything. I scratched it off slowly, thought I was seeing things. I stared at that damn ticket for about 10 minutes, convinced it was some sort of misprint. I wasn't high. I called my buddy Logan, though. He thought I was messing with him. Logan! I swear to God. Look at this, I said, holding the ticket up to the phone. It's real, man. $6.2 million. There was a long pause on the other end. Then he started laughing. Dude, you're high as hell. You didn't win anything. Go sit down. I'm serious. I yelled back. I'm looking at it. Logan, $6 million. He still thought I was joking. I wasn't. I was just suddenly a millionaire, and I was also suddenly unsure of everything. Trust issues? You bet. Battered soul? Absolutely. But damn, I wasn't going to screw this up. So I didn't tell anyone else. Not a soul. I called a lawyer the next morning, cashing the ticket anonymously through them. I set up a trust, took the lump sum after taxes, and after all was said and done, I had just over $4 million sitting in my bank account. It wasn't yacht money, but it was definitely never eating ramen again money. You know what I did first? Nothing. I didn't buy a sports car, I didn't post it on Instagram, hell, I didn't even upgrade my damn phone. I just sat with it. I met with. My lawyer set up some smart investments, paid off my truck, and kept my head down. That lasted all of 3 weeks. Then came the text. Out of nowhere, Melanie. Hey, stranger, just wanted to see how you're doing. Want to grab coffee sometime? I stared at that message like it was a rattlesnake. A dozen things went through my mind at once. She'd never, not once, checked in on me since the divorce, and she was never the type to reach out without an agenda. So, why now? I didn't respond. 2 days later, another message came through. I heard a rumor. Hope it's not true, but if it is, maybe we should talk. Love. I felt my stomach drop. A rumor? What the hell was she talking about? I hadn't told a single soul about the win. Not Logan, not the lawyer, no one. So, how did she know? Turns out Logan's girlfriend told her cousin, and her cousin told her hairdresser, who just so happened to do Melanie's highlights. Classic small-town betrayal. I still didn't respond, but this time I didn't just ignore it. I screenshotted every message, every word, and sent them straight to my lawyer. Melanie is trying to make contact. I texted him. I don't want her anywhere, near me, but she's sniffing around. Let me know what you think. That was it. The ball was in his court now. Ron Jeremy, best money I've ever spent. No exaggeration. The guy's a savage. He's got a spine made of titanium and the patience of a saint. Seriously, if you ever need someone to deal with the worst of life, that's your guy. Melanie, though, wasn't giving up. Not that I expected her to. She's the kind of person who thinks the world revolves around her, and if you try to walk away, she just digs in deeper. She escalated, showed up at my job unannounced, acting like everything was fine between us. Then she left a basket of muffins at my apartment door, like we were some sort of married couple again. She even left voicemails crying, begging for a second chance. Life's too short to hold grudges, she said in one of them. It was straight out of a soap opera. The thing is, I wasn't buying it. Then came the kicker. She filed a motion with the court. She actually argued that the divorce settlement was unfair because I'd supposedly hidden assets during the proceedings. Let that sink in for a second. She claimed I knowingly withheld my lottery winnings, even though I won after the divorce was finalized. Seriously, she was trying to spin it like I had this big secret plan all along, like I knew I'd win the lottery and decided to keep it from her. My first thought, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't even have to go to court. Ron Jeremy took care of it for me. When Melanie walked into that courtroom, she came loaded for bear. She had all the documentation, timestamps, transaction records, tax receipts, She even had a statement from the Lottery Commission showing the exact date and time I'd won. It was ironclad, the kind of evidence that would make anyone second-guess their argument. But here's where it got interesting. Melanie's lawyer tried to argue that I'd known I was going to win and that I should have disclosed it, like I had some crystal ball. The judge, he actually laughed at them, straight up laughed. He dismissed her motion with prejudice, meaning she couldn't file again. Melanie stormed out of the courtroom. I heard she screamed at her lawyer in the hallway, slammed her purse on the ground, and cried in the parking lot for 40 minutes. It was like watching a bad reality show. I didn't go watch, though. I didn't need to. I was sitting at home on my balcony, sipping a beer. That's the taste of peace right there. The taste of victory. Now I'm living in a modest lake house with a screened-in porch and a dock where I can fish on weekends. I help fund a local animal shelter. I travel sometimes. Nothing flashy, just quiet trips to places where no one knows me. Melanie, well, she's apparently dating some guy who sells cryptocurrency on Instagram. Good luck to him. He's going to need it. As for me, I don't regret a thing. Not even the marriage. It taught me everything I needed to know about protecting my peace, choosing wisely, and most importantly, letting my lawyer do the talking. A month after the court tossed out her motion, I figured it was over. Done. Buried. I thought I was free. But if there's one thing I've learned about Melanie, it's that she's like a cockroach with Wi-Fi. She knows how to find ways to stay in your life when you least expect it. One crisp October morning, I'm sipping my coffee, watching ducks argue on the lake like they've got nothing better to do when I hear a knock at my door. It's not the usual Amazon guy or my neighbor Joe needing jumper cables again. No, it's Melanie's mother dressed in pearls holding a tray of banana bread like it's some kind of peace treaty. "Damon, sweetheart," she says, all saccharine and fake concern. Melanie's been struggling. She's not herself. She made mistakes, sure, but who hasn't? Maybe you could help her get back on her feet. I stood there for a second, just staring at this woman like she had just asked me to donate a kidney to someone who keyed my car. "You mean the same Melanie who took my house and tried to sue me for lottery money she didn't earn?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. Her smile flickered. She was emotional. "You know how girls get when they're scared?" She tried that angle, but I wasn't buying it. I didn't even respond. Just said, "Tell Melanie there is a website called OnlyFans, and tell her I said hi and I hope she gets hit by a truck and dies soon. Now, goodbye, old witch," and shut the door. She left the banana bread on the porch like it was a peace offering. I gave it to my neighbor's dog. The dog seemed to appreciate it more than I did. I waited for a week to see if it died. 3 days later, Melanie herself emailed me. She really must have been desperate to go full boomer and send an email. It was long, rambling, and full of things like, "I never stopped loving you. We were supposed to build a life together. We were just under so much stress. The house meant nothing without you. Money can't buy happiness, but maybe it can buy us a second chance." I forwarded it to Ron Jeremy just in case she tried anything stupid. Then brace yourself. She went public. I'm scrolling Facebook one night, half-heartedly checking up on people I barely care about when I see it. A post on her timeline set to public with a carefully staged selfie of her looking sad on a park bench. The caption, "Some people win the sea lottery and lose their soul." Not naming names, but wow, just wow. The comment section was a war zone. Half of her friends were all, "You deserve better, girl." And the other half people who knew the real story ripped her apart. One guy commented, "You took his house, sued him for his winnings, and now you're playing the victim. Sit down." Another woman posted a gift of popcorn. It was beautiful, honestly. But just when I thought the drama had run its course, Melanie had one more card to play. She showed up at my job. Now I work in a distribution warehouse on the floor, with mostly guys. Forklifts, steel toe boots, the whole deal. One of my coworkers walks up to me looking a little concerned. Damon? Some chick with deep cleavage is at the front office. Say she's your wife." "That she's not my wife, she's my ex-wife." I walk up to the front office and boom, there she is, dressed like she's about to walk the red carpet. Full glam, push-up bra, heels, and fake tears. "Damon," she says loud enough for the receptionist to hear, "please just hear me out. I made a mistake. I should never have left you. I don't like scenes. I'm not that guy, not anymore. But I was done." I said calmly, "Melanie, this is harassment. You need to leave right now before I call the cops." She looked at me like I slapped her. "You wouldn't call the cops on me," she whispered. "Oh, I won't," I replied. "But my lawyer, he'd love the paperwork." Melanie stood there for a second, processing that. Then she left, and that was the last time I saw her in person. Now, you're probably wondering what I've done with the money. Well, let me tell you, it's not all Lumbos and champagne. I kept my job part-time, just enough to stay grounded. I bought my mom a little house closer to her sisters so they can gossip in person instead of on the phone all day. I set up a college fund for my niece. I travel. I fish. I sit on my porch and watch the world spin. I've been learning guitar badly. I donate to causes that matter to me. I take naps in the middle of the day just because I can. Sometimes peace looks like a quiet morning and no emails from your ex. Other times it looks like knowing you could destroy someone legally, but choosing not to because your lawyer already did it better. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.